We're so excited to bring you another heartfelt episode, one in which we drop our ego at the floor and just come to you with real talk and real conversations between me and my beautiful best friend and business partner, Ellie Ty. And we are just honored to be here with you today. And as usual, we're going to drop in straight from a space and place that we are in and just allow God to work through us, because as we entered the space today, we were feeling a little bit of strategy, a little bit of ego, a little bit of control. And we know more than anybody else that control is an illusion. And we just released that in prayer today and hope that this message falls divinely on the ears that it is supposed to, and that any words that don't resonate fall to the floor. But what comes through is the gentle reminder of how beautiful and abundant you are, how you were made for purpose, on purpose by the most loving creator. And he is backing you at all times. And the worry and the fear and the angst and the anxiety that you might feel and bring into your day is not yours to carry alone. So that's our intention for you today. We're excited to jump in and talk things productivity, talk about our thoughts and how to take them captive and how to differentiate from the worldly chaos and the beautiful ultimate grace that is within. And we're excited to bring that to you today.
One thing that's really beautiful about Brittany and my friendship and partnership is we are listening. We're always listening. So when we make decisions, we plant the seed and then we just wait and we listen.
That's good.
Making decisions are not something that we need to do right in the moment, right away. It's something that we get to listen for God's ultimate direction. And he shows us because we trust that is going to come through. And the message that's been coming through a lot the last week or two is the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah, there we go.
And I know that in my coaching career, one thing that I've struggled in the initial phases of trying to be something that I'm not is, why do I feel like I'm not here to work with people who only have a goal of money? And before I really understood the fruits of the Spirit, I understood that makes a lot of sense. Money is not everything. Money is beautiful. We love money, but we don't love money because that's the root of all evil. We don't choose money over anything else. And so that message has been coming across loud and clear in church yesterday, in podcasts that we're hearing. And I actually went to a dinner last weekend and I talked to a friend of mine, and his business is to interview billionaires on his podcast. So of course, I asked him, I said, we are working with both men and women right now who have the money. That's not their goal. In fact, their goal is, how do I fill the hole? Because I don't even know where to start. Why do I not feel fulfilled? And that's exactly what he said. I said, when you talk to billionaires, what's the one thing that they want? Because everybody looks at them and says they have everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that mask is very confusing to people, both millionaires and billionaires, but it can be very confusing because everybody's telling me I have everything, but why don't I feel good? And he said, the one thing that billionaires want more than anything is to feel fulfilled and to have peace.
Which is, there's a lot to unpack there, because are we talking to the millionaires? Sure. But are we talking to the people that aspire to be millionaires? Absolutely. And here's why. Let's get course corrected before we get to the course. And before we climb the ladder on the wrong wall, let's make sure we're set up against the right wall. Before we do all the hustle and grind to get where we think that we desire to be, let's do the due diligence and the work now to ensure that when we get there, we're going to be beautiful stewards of it. Because what we're doing right now is we are speaking to the people that have the financial prosperity that we all desire, but we're also talking to those who long for it. Because here's the thing, we're all the same. We have taken in this rule of anxiety, whether things are really, really good or really, really bad. because we are adopted in this way. Whether if things are really, really good, we're waiting for the shoe to drop and we're waiting for the rug to be swept from under us. But if things are really, really bad, then we're sitting in that anxiety. So no matter what, we're anxious. No matter if you have the money in the car and the boat, or if you are struggling at home with your parents, we are all anxious. So what do we do with this, right? Like, what do we do with this? We're not categorizing millionaires and millennials. We're talking to everybody. We're talking about everyone who thinks that something outside of themselves is going to be the cure when they haven't even, like you said, found the spiritual gift of fruit that is within. And I think something that you and I really, really strive to do is we don't want to add to the noise. There is so much information and there is so much white noise. You and I are here to turn it down. So when we come on podcasts, the reason that we pray before we just jump on the mic is we don't want to add to the noise. I don't need to add to the confusion, the chaos, the awarenesses of the world. My job is to bring you home into your body, to remind you of the power within. And together we fan that flame because we've tried everything else, right? And you're 100% right. So meanwhile, she's at this meeting at a dinner with this man who she's asking, what do billionaires face that are troublesome? And it's fulfillment and peace. And I, this next day, before we even talked about this, was listening to a podcast, and I was leaning in and heard the same message. The whole hour podcast, the one thing that struck with me is people are not present, they're not peaceful, and they're unfulfilled. And this goes across the board to every state that you're in, whether you are in the highest class status or in the lowest class. We are chronically stressed. We are chronically unfulfilled. And in that search, we become more unfulfilled because we search outside of ourselves and we get further and further and further away from ourself and our purpose and our God. And then we're on the rabbit wheel of life. And I just, the whole cliche that life is short has never struck more true to me in my whole entire life. This life is precious. It's short. It's precious. It's intentional. It's beautiful. And it will go by in a blink if you spend it in a whirlwind of fight or flight and chasing.
Yeah. I went to it was during a plant medicine ceremony, which I don't do anymore. But it was a corporate version, actually. It was really cool. But one of the men that I was talking to after the ceremony has a beautiful family, and he was talking about how he's so on all the time and he feels so disconnected from his wife and his kids. And one of the things he mentioned is he's like, I go to my son's hockey games and I'm on my phone the whole time. There is a difference between being somewhere and being present somewhere. And no matter how many things you attend, if your heart's not there, you're not there. And I think oftentimes even couples can say, I need more of you. And one of the partner will be like, I'm right here. But it's like, but you don't understand.
Yeah.
You're not here.
Yeah.
That presence is so felt by everybody that loves you. And we tend to kind of glide through the cliches of life, like, oh, fulfillment and peace, of course. But it's like, no, let's talk about what fulfillment really means.
Yes. So good. Thank you. We didn't know where we were going to go, and it just landed in my body that God's like, yep, this is it.
Yeah.
You're so right. And we heard something in church yesterday that said content has become the new currency. And exchange the word content for anything, productivity, whatever, like filling your calendar with the most calls possible. And we have mistaken completely that the busier we are, the more productive we are. And we have mistaken completely that we are in full control of our destiny and that we are the only things that move our needle forward. And when that is the reality, it's overwhelming. Can you imagine if I'm the only one in the world that's going to move anything forward? The weight of that every single morning. Thank God that you and I have fallen into love with our divine Father, because I've never felt lighter in my whole entire life. And fulfillment for me now looks completely different than it once did. I think if you asked me what would fulfillment mean back then, and I'm actually taking myself back to that time. If you asked me what fulfillment meant 2 years ago, it was all monetary. It was all external. It was a house, a dog, a beautiful husband, a good paying job, healthy kids. And that is fulfilling. Those are fulfilling things. But let's talk about fulfillment. If you ask me what fulfillment is today, it doesn't matter. I don't think about anywhere that I am. I think about a feeling that comes from the inside. I think about being full of love, unconditional love, meeting myself with grace and compassion, and then that pouring out and over me onto others, and then feeling that without a word. So it's actually very simple. It's actually nothing tangible at all. It's a complete feeling within of peace and presence. To be able to sit here and look at you, Ellie, without my subconscious mind running through the list of things to do today, but to like look at you and see you and love you and speak into this mic and know that my voice is rippling out in a vibrational frequency onto those that might need it. That's fulfillment, right? It's not this beautiful studio and like the fact that we got dressed up in these fancy mics. It's the fact that our words have a vibrational frequency that we get to emit out and speak on, and then it will land on the ears of someone who's walking the trail or driving their kids to school, and it might just hit them in the right spot in their heart that they remember how worthy they are. What does fulfillment mean to you?
Fulfillment has been decluttering, moving out the extra pieces of the puzzle that don't belong. Everything for my journey for the last 3 years has been about not what can I become, but what can I unbecome, the noise of what I should be doing. So one example is this idea of we're surrounded by people with large social media followings. And I've for a while gotten lost in the trap of like, I'll be fulfilled once I hit that. Like I have all of the skills, I have all of the tools. But the problem is I don't like making content that much. And my business mentor had shared, she's like, why do you think that that's the only way that you'll grow your business? If you love doing things like speaking and dropping in with people one-on-one, God has placed that within you.
Yeah.
So we have our favorite quote from the Bible, which is 2 Timothy 1:6. Fan into flame the gift of God, which is in you through the laying on of my hands.
So good.
When we talk about fanning into flame, I see a lot of people who are fanning multiple flames and wondering,
the wrong flame.
They're burnt out fanning so many flames and the wrong flames. But like, what if we took enough time to drop in with our breath into the body, peace and clarity, connecting in with God, to ask God, please take away all of the noise. I want to see what you have for me. I don't want to run the rat race anymore. I want to know what you have for me. I want to do your will. I want to go after that 100%, and I want to fan that flame.
I got chills. You know what I picture? I picture, first of all, the flame within you. When we speak of the flame, we speak about the purpose and the passion and the calling that God has placed on your heart. There's one for each of us. So that's our flame, right? Some of us are so terrified of our flame. We're actually terrified of our vastness, our bigness, our boldness, our bravery. And so I'm picturing little me inside of my body with a beautiful flame, and I'm picturing me trying to put it out or contain it.
Oh my gosh.
And the energy it takes to try to contain this beautiful flame, right? Like I'm like throwing wet towels on it and I'm fanning it and I'm sweating and I'm hot, but like what about letting it roar?
Can I share something?
Yes, please.
Oh my gosh, this is coming through because this is very alive in my heart. The work of the enemy is so divinely instructed that your most beautiful gift that God has placed in you will be a threat to other people, not consciously. And think about being like 5 or 6 years old and people making fun of you. You know, for me, the gift that I offer is structure and order. And I still have like sensitivity around it because of feeling like I was being made fun of. So I quieted the flame. I pretended, you know, to not notice things, to not be available. And that exerted more pressure, more energy than I knew at the time. But knowing that that thing that you think is your worst quality, if it is completely in love, which means you're coming from a place of godly love, that is your flame. That is your flame.
Yeah. I just got chills.
And we're here to remind you that that thing that you think is your worst quality is actually what you should be fanning in with absolute love and devotion. And here's the thing, when you decide that you're ready to love that part of yourself, you release so many people like family members and friends from this need that, well, you need to love me a certain way. When you love yourself a certain way, you release that attachment and naturally they gravitate towards loving you a certain way because you've taken the pressure and the attachment off of them. And that's the same way that it works when you ask God for a request or when, law of attraction comes in. When you take the pressure off and you know that you're so worthy of it because you're God's creation. And if it is in God's will, and as long as it takes and you release attachment, it comes in way faster.
That's it. I want to double click into one thing you said and have you expand on it, because you said people will find it a threat, not consciously. Why? How? How can we discern when someone is finding us threatening, and how do we know that we know that it's a projection or perception of their perceived reality and their fears projected upon us, but how do we move through that? And why? Why do people find us threatening?
The reason that people find us threatening is because when you are a being of light and your light shines everywhere you go, you merely standing next to a person will show all of their darkness to themselves. And the fear is that it'll show to other people. People who have darkness on them don't want to see that side of themselves and they don't want it to be exposed. Yet what they don't realize is that everything beautiful is when they choose to let go of that and they choose to be in the light. But unconsciously, we aren't realizing that that's happening. And so people will be so threatened that they'll subconsciously try to put out your flame. And when you realize that you can choose God no matter what, and you can choose to love God despite what other people think of you, first of all, that's an act of complete obedience and faith and devotion to Him. But it also tells the enemy, who works through the ego, who works through childhood trauma, who works through cracks in the fence and numbing, you tell that person that you are an impenetrable fence. It's a hard word to say.
That is a hard one. That was it.
Yeah.
I don't want to try to help you.
It's that. That's what we mean when we talk about decluttering and letting go of the noise. It's not about you need to strengthen something. Your gift will come alive. It's in you. It's intuitive. It's not something you need to memorize.
Or go find. Or go seek for. Or search
it's
on
in
Google.
You, and it's strong and it's like pulsing and it wants to come out. And you are literally expending 80% of your energy. Like, be quiet. Don't show yourself. Like, stop. Don't show that you're really loud and energetic and vibrant. Don't show that you have these desires and these passions that people are going to judge you for. You're exerting more energy covering yourself, masking yourself, than firing in the direction that God is calling for you. Yeah. And so one thing we're really passionate about is there's usually one actual major block that if we can move that, you can get a taste of the excitement and joy and fulfillment from that, where you're now motivated enough to start running in that direction.
That's so, so important. I'm thinking for some reason like Myers-Briggs came up for me, like all of these personality tests, which are really useful tools, right? When we know what we're kind of being called to do. But I just think about all of the noise, and I go back to that picture of us trying to tame the flame within us to try to fit in and make it look just right, and the strategy behind it and how exhausting that is. Before we've even gotten into the word or gotten into the contemplation of what God wants to do with us, trying to make shift it our own and make sense of it. It's really hard to do. And I want to paint.
I'm just sorry, like taming the flame.
Taming.
Why are you trying to tame the flame?
Stop taming your flame.
It takes so much effort to try to tame the flame.
You're trying to stay within the borders and boundaries in which you think and believe are culturally acceptable, and all the while you are exhausting yourself.
That's good.
I think too, decluttering, what that looks like and what that means for me is the decluttering of the mind. Like I said earlier, the turning down of the white noise. I want you to picture yourself and maybe your partner, your spouse, or your best friend. And if you don't have kids, you're babysitting. But if you have kids, your kids are upstairs going to sleep and you're watching a rated R film. and you're consumed with it and you're not really thinking about it because it's kind of normal. It's a rated R film. There's guns, there's sex, there's cursing, there's all of these things. And you're watching it and you're consuming it. And all of a sudden your 2-year-old comes down the stairs to ask you a question. And all of a sudden you are scrambling for the remote to turn it off, right? And all of a sudden what was normal becomes a little bit unsettling and inappropriate for who's entered the room.
Mm-hmm.
I think about our thoughts that way with God. Like what becomes normal and what we just filter through and what we see and consume on a day-to-day basis, the content that we're consuming, the garbage that we're consuming, and then God enters the space and all of a sudden we have all this shame and guilt. And we're like scrambling to turn off our life and change things. And we're like, because what happens, purity enters the room, innocence enters the room, and all of a sudden what's impure becomes highlighted. Mm-hmm. Going back to being threatened, but also going back to your mind. And your mind and what you are consuming and what you are taking in. And the only reason that you feel disconnected from God is because you're shameful that when he enters the room, he's going to judge you for what you're viewing. He already knows what you're viewing. He wants to help you clean it up. Mm-hmm. And in the decluttering is when we get back into our true intention and we can realign to our purpose and our passion. And that is the fulfillment, right? And then when you're fulfilled there, you can drop into presence. Because then it's like, oh, okay, he's not judging me. I'm not judging me. I'm clearing up and cleaning up the things in which I am consuming and are being integrated in my mind and my body and my soul. And everything is starting to shift and change, right? And on a somatic level, or the coaching that I do and we get to do together, is I think we kind of go in this, we approach healing as kind of backwards sometimes. We start with like the belief, like what is the limiting rooted belief? And that's really important because that creates the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the results to what you're experiencing in your life. But sometimes I think we can run it backwards. And we can start with the behavior change, which is the actions, and then inadvertently the results. And when we run it back, all of a sudden we start to move differently, we start to act differently, and we start to shift our human behaviors towards that of what would, if God, as God enters the room, we start to clean up our act, and then all of a sudden the thoughts and beliefs and feelings start to alter as a byproduct. So we can do both, right? It's not always going straight into the root of the subconscious belief and uprooting it, and then everything changes all at once. Sometimes it's both. It's coming into our program. It's signing up to invest in yourself. It's moving. It's going to church. It's opening up your Bible. It's those actions, those behaviors that then will help heal the feelings, the deeply rooted thoughts, and the deeper beliefs, right? And so it can go both ways. We can run this play either way. And what you and I do is we take someone and we meet them where they're at. We decide which play to run, but ultimately all with the same goal, to bring them back to their flame, to let them feel it, to get clear on what that is, and then fan it into flame.
Yes. I want to talk about something you said about the remote. The thought of like when God wants to keep you in that certain level of purity, there's no condemnation in that. God is like, oh no, I love you anyways. I'm just here to protect you. And when I think about her, and I work a lot with chaos and being scattered. When I think about why do those things that are rated R even exist? It's not about the rated R, but it's like, why do any of this imagery that is not pure for our soul to receive, why does it even exist? And this is where we come into the evil powers that be. Like, and I use the enemy, but it can also be, if you just want something more practical, media is paid in ads a lot of money, and that amount of money increases based on how controversial, attention grabbing something is in between the ads. And anything that is chaos is the work of the enemy. People are making money by being content creators, and their only job is to catch somebody in that 2 seconds hook, deliver really impactful, really attention-grabbing content, and they make money off of it. So we are all turning against each other in pure innocence, creating content that's distracting us. So we're scrolling, and every 2 seconds, because there's a new post on a different topic, we're learning to be scattered. And this is why things like social media fasting is really important, and coming into presence, is because anything chaotic, again, is the work of the enemy. And God is over here like, I want to keep you focused on me, because when you're focused on me, I will remind you of who you are. But instead, it's like, I'm going to focus on God. What all these other things that I have going on? Like, how do I? And he's like, focus on me and turn the TV off. Come back to me and turn the TV off. And just this idea of what are some practical ways that we can avoid the chaos and the feeling scattered in 2023.
Dang, girl, because you're right. Even our practice with God is like open the Bible, read a verse, and then turn over in prayer, and then get a water and coffee and come back and sit down, and then everything we are like there's like what short twitch muscles and long-term marathon runners, right? And we're all in this short twitch. We're like next hit, next hit, next hit. And guess what? We become bored. Right now, the Instagram algorithm is to keep your reels under 12 seconds. That means that people are not watching for an average of longer than 12 seconds. They can't even sustain and watch the 30-second reel. 30 seconds is becoming too long. We turn on the microwave 30 seconds and we're watching it count down. It's the longest 30 seconds of our life. Everything is instantly gratified. And we hear this a lot, but let's talk about this because it is training and wiring our brains for quick entitlement. And we are becoming a very greedy culture. And we are becoming very graspy. And we're looking outside of ourselves. And although I love the coaching industry and I'm a part of it, there are a lot of coaches out there that are going to tell you that they can help you reach 10K months and get a six-pack in 60 days. And there are so many guarantees. And every time that we invest in that, we are suggesting that somebody else outside of ourselves has more power than our innate control. And while that's beautiful and there's some truth to that, what about the coaches that are bringing people back into their center, reminding them, decluttering them, turning down the white noise of this entire world to get still and silent enough to hear their own heartbeat? We don't do that enough. Of course, we are exhausted. And of course, we are pivoting from one thing to the next. And then we're not made that way. It's not sustainable. So we get frustrated with ourselves.
Yeah.
We're like, why can't I focus on anything? And that's why. And I say that in compassion because the world is not set up for us to be super successful in the focus of sitting still. And if that feels hard for you, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Now, usually the thing that's the hardest for us to obtain is the most important for us to do. So if you cannot even imagine or fathom sitting down and getting in the Word and focusing in contemplation on God for a silent 30 minutes, it's probably something you should work towards, right?
Yeah. Coming back to the peace and the presence.
If you're listening, just take a deep breath. Our nervous systems, truly, our nervous systems don't know that we're in traffic or we're being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. They are just going with what the mind tells them to do. There's this coherence, and our nervous system's only response is to listen, to receive, and to send signal. So when we're in traffic, our bodies, our nervous systems are doing the same exact thing as if we were getting chased by a black bear. The heart rate goes up so we can run. We start to profusively sweat so our body can maintain the energy to run. We actually start to become acidic, so if the bear were to bite into us, we wouldn't taste as yummy. All of these things are happening, and we're in traffic, but our body is operating like we're being chased by a bear. And Emily Fletcher always says stress makes us silly, sick, and slow. It's so true. Have you ever ran around the house with your sunglasses on the head and you're like, where are my sunglasses? Where are my sunglasses? They're on your head.
Yeah.
It makes us silly, sick, and slow. Stress on the body, that cortisol, that heightened state, it becomes normal. We live there and it becomes normal, and then we're constantly living in anxiety, and God, all he wants to do is strip that down from you, but you won't allow him. We don't give him the space. We don't allow him. I don't have time to meditate is the surefire way to ensure that you never have time to come drop into your body and hear the presence and purpose of God. What are you chasing after? These patterns that you got. Okay. If we take a highlighter to the patterns that are alive in your life and we play those patterns out for the rest of your life, where are you going to be in 3 years? Heightened in the pattern. We have to start to make ourselves interrupt those patterns. It's a little uncomfortable, but is it worth it? Absolutely. And does our God want that for us? Absolutely.
Yeah. We're doing this to ourselves. It's like, I'm so busy, I literally don't have the time. And just so you know, Britley's gift is breath and mine is time. So anybody who says they don't have the time, I'm like, oh, really? Let us sit down for a moment. I will find you many hours in your week, honey. But we do this to ourselves. And I know that because the minute we do have time, it's not about time. It's the addiction to the cortisol. It's the addiction to continuously going and going and going.
So let's talk about that, because when we do block out an hour of me time and self-care time, and we think that that's the biggest thing that we've done all week, we're like, look, I did it. It's in the calendar. And then what we fill that with is so counterproductive.
Scrolling.
I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it's me time. Okay, I'm going to sit down and meditate. And then I open the book. And then I get a little bit of guilt for feeling like I should work. And then I correct myself and pray. And I say, God, remind me that productivity is not in the push forward, but in the surrender. And then I'm back at square one. So how do you help clients find the peace and presence to take that hour that you've helped them permission them to take and really take it and drop into presence?
The first way is a practical step is when I work with clients who are super overloaded and scattered, I actually clean it up for them.
Ooh.
Like that's why this is so unique, is because I actually go in and declutter the mess, because the best way to show somebody who's highly logical and practical that they don't have that much on their plate as they thought is to show them. Mm-hmm. I show them their exact life and everything on their plate. And I also show them everything that they are missing out on, all the resources and the energetic currencies that they're leaving on the table. Because of this perception of always being busy or always being on the go. Second thing, we shift the mindset. You're always on the go because your identity wants to be somebody that's always on the go. Who is that for?
Oh, that's good.
Because when I practically show you your goals, none of these are on the top 3. So we either need to rearrange your goals or you need to get honest about something. That's the only way that we make change. And then the third is guiding them through long enough to take those deep breaths until they get the dopamine hit and they can start going on their own. A lot of times the reason that people don't pick up habits is because they haven't gotten the hit of reward from it long enough, because it usually is so much more helpful when somebody's holding your hand in the moment where you hit the valley of despair, which is the breaking point. When my clients are like, I just feel like I'm about to break, I feel like I'm going to go back and do that habit, I'm like, perfect. You are exactly where you're meant to be. And I've got you and we're going to walk through it. But I want you to know this is so planned. I could have told you this. We're at 2.5 week mark. I could have told you this. If you decide in this moment to push through, you are making a call to your ego that this is no longer a factor of your identity, which means on the other end, you're going to be the type of person that is just as successful with the energy restoration, the peak performance, the connections with their family and friends, the romance. Like, you get to have it all. Don't think that if you cut back, you're going to have to lose something. But we just have to have seasons where we're prioritizing what is the currency that you want right now.
That's good. And I want to even go further into that, because what's that? It's like we're 3 feet from gold. We're always right about to get the thing that we desire the most before we drop out.
Yeah.
And you said, what did you say? You said, like that resistance right before the edge of the habit is formed, we meet it. And that's when 98% of people drop out. And we're not affirmed because we haven't gotten the reward yet. How do we move through knowing that the reward is on the other side of this discomfort and not drop out?
You know how?
How?
You get somebody who's already walked the path to tell you, oh, honey, this is exactly where you're meant to be. And this is why it's so important to have coaches or mentors or facilitators who have walked the path that you want to go in, because they're going to remind you that you're so much closer than you think. It's oftentimes that we want to jump ship before we've gotten the reward. And guess what? We're going to interplay something else we talked about earlier in the episode. Why do you think that is? Because we have been programmed by chaos to have an attention span of 12 seconds. So if we don't get something in 2 weeks and, 2 days, we want to pivot.
Yep.
We weren't meant to be patient enough to last the full 3 weeks to finally get to the reward.
Yeah.
And this is how the enemy works.
This is how the enemy works.
This is how the enemy keeps you from having everything that you want, is you're not willing to stay focused and present enough on something. And oh my goodness, am I guilty of this too? Like, the program is from scattered to streamlined for a reason. We live in this human world. We're in it. It is so hard to stay focused when there's so many exciting, shiny things.
Yep.
You got to choose the one thing that you know that God's calling you to and just keep coming back to that. If you need to write it down somewhere, if you need to read it every night before you go to bed, you got to remember what you're being called to do, because there's always going to be shiny things. We live in a world where we pick up the phone. I could go through 100 shiny things in 5 minutes.
The word accountability just came up for me so loud, because there's no way that I would be able to move at the speed that I am moving and helping and having the impact and influence that I'm having without you as a business partner and a best friend. Best friend first.
Yeah.
There's just no way. And I think about the coaching containers that I've been in and how quickly they have moved me, because there is somebody holding my hand and picking me up, and I am not left to my own devices and self-sabotage to pivot and move just to get to the bottom to try to climb back up again. I'm met where I'm at, and that's where I'm like, that is where my capacity widens. That is where my faith deepens. That is where I grow. And there has been days where I've called you and been like, Ellie, what are we doing? And there have been days where you've called me and been like, really, what are we doing? And what did you say the other day? One person's always the foundation and the other can be the wave, but we can be that for each other. Like, I'm going to remind you exactly what we're doing and reel you back in. And you're going to allow me to be flotacious.
Love it. Flirtatious.
Flotacious
Did we
in
just
the
make a
way.
word? Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's good.
And you reel me back in. And that accountability piece, we have to have those people that reflect and keep bouncing the ball upward for us and keep climbing the mountain and pulling us up. And then they climb up and we pull them up. And we're walking and trudging side by side.
Yeah.
And these are not the people that are way behind you that you're already holding their backpack and your backpack and you're cheering on and you're empowering as much as you can, but it's taking your energy. It's the people that are right beside you that get a little bit ahead of you, and then they wait and hold up for you to come, and then you go, and it's like the beautiful dance. And it just is. We can't do this all alone. We're not meant to.
We're not meant to do it. It's so good to have a business partner or somebody that is on your level or ahead of you, a coach or facilitator. And to tie into what you're saying, part of this is because part of your journey is you will absolutely hit that point where you are meant to grieve. This person holds the vision. They're not grieving. They've already been through it. They're just watching you. They're holding the space, but they're holding the vision. Mm-hmm. So you drop off, maybe even physically. Let's talk about 2 or 3 days in bed. How many times have we done that? Mm-hmm. Because in order to get to the level that you want to get to, that you've been saying you want to get to so badly, you must have an ego death. You must let go of the identity that you had before that was telling you that you can't do it. Mm-hmm. That is a grieving process that your body goes through. This is why the body work's so important. Your body has to physically let go of that. So when you're like, why am I so tired? Why am I sleeping so much? What? Look at what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You think that all the work's happening here? No way. It's happening in the body. That's why it takes the 2 parts, the holding the vision and the dropping into the body and being safe to be like, okay, I'm ready to let that go.
That is so important. Think about the days that you wake up tired and you're frustrated with yourself because you're not going to get as much done today and you're tired and you think that it's such a brain thing. You're like, if I were to check into my body, what's happened over the last week? Oh, I've moved. Like, we have to start to understand that the body is the wisdom. Mm-hmm. The body is the compass, not the mind. And in fact, our thoughts are not ours. That's not our identity. And a lot of them aren't from God. And so when we can start to declutter and streamline and get clear on the intention and fall into the body, that mind-body connection is everything. Yeah. We talked about this last episode. You can't know and get in the presence of the Creator if you are detached from your own creation. You have to connect to the body. You have to be able to connect to the body, to the heart, to create a coherence here for you to be able to even bring in and invite in the Holy Spirit. Living from the head up blocks all creative energy and flow and fulfillment.
That's a good note to drop on.
Okay.
That's so good.
Yeah. Get to know your body, create the coherence, do the inner work, and turn down the white noise by just coming back to center and remembering. There's nothing for you out there to go and figure out and fix and find. Just remember and hold space for people to remember and be the space holder. Take the space. Go first and find those people that will help you to turn down that noise and turn up that flame.
Yes, ma'am.
No taming the flame around here.
Taming the flame around here. We're about to fan it all the way up.
Thank you guys for listening so much. We send you all of the love. We would love to know if you're engaged in listening to this episode. If you like and rate, share it with us, tag us. We will be thanking you in the DMs. And we're just grateful for the community, for those of you who have taken the time out of your day to drop in with us. Hopefully you heard God whisper to you today. Hopefully you feel the peace and presence that he provides in every waking moment, as long as you're willing to reach for it. And we will be back very soon. See you next week.